What's going on, duelists? It's your boy Nick, bringing you to the channel for the very first time an update to my Beetrooper bug deck featuring the brand new Ragnaraika cards from the new Legacy of Destruction core booster set. We just had sneak peek this past weekend, as well as we just had a ban list as of last week, and I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm finally back, going to be bringing you guys weekly content updates for, deck profiles, combos, and test hands, maybe even some live duels. I took a little bit of a break because the format was getting a little bit stale, but now that we not only have a new core set, but a ban list, it's time for me to get back to work and continue bringing you guys the content that you are here to see. So, with that being said, those of you new to the channel, welcome. My name is Nick. We do Yu-Gi-Oh! Content mainly focused around rogue and casual decks alike. If that's the kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! That you're interested in, then I highly encourage you to subscribe to the channel. We're currently working our way to 1,500 subscribers, and we are closer than we've ever been, and I need your help to get there. So if you're watching this right now and you're not subscribed, subscribe. It doesn't cost you a thing, and you do not want to miss out on the absolute banger content that I have coming to the channel in the upcoming weeks. So, Ragnaraika, also formerly known as Raika in the OCG, is a brand new archetype introduced to the game that kind of takes a page out of Tri-Brigade's book, where they want to combine 3 different monster types together, in this case being insects, plants, and reptiles. They're more of a combo-focused link climbing deck. Didn't see too much success in the OCG, however I feel like in the TCG that's a bit different, because we do not have Max C, whereas they have Max C over there. So I feel like this deck might actually perform a lot better than people expect, and it's definitely a deck that I think many people are looking over, in my opinion. And it fits so nicely with the Beetrooper cards. I know the Beetrooper profile that I uploaded a while ago at this time was one of the more popular uploads on the channel, so I was really excited to get the chance to update that deck list finally and bring you guys something fresh and revised. So with that being said, we're going to dive into this 42 card deck profile, and we're going to be starting off with the monster lineup first. You know how we do here on the channel, so we are starting with a playset of Ragnaraika the Evil Seed. This is effectively the starter for the new Ragnaraika archetype. It is a level 1 earth plant monster with 0 attack and 0 defense, and it reads as follows. You can special summon the card from your hand by sending 1 insect, plant, or reptile monster from your hand to the graveyard. So that's a non-activated effect. Then, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add to your hand up to 2 different Ragnaraika cards that are banished and or in your deck to your hand. Then you can banish 1 card from your hand. And then for the remainder of the turn, you cannot special summon monsters except insects, plants, and reptiles. So it does lock you into those 3 particular types. But I don't think that's too much of a problem, especially with the deck that we're running this in. Ragnaraika is pretty splashable. You're probably going to see people trying to play this in like Ogdoadic decks, as well as even other Beetrooper or Bug variants, and possibly even other plant decks like Trap Tricks and or Rika, for example. So very cool splashable card. Obviously the summon condition is really easy to achieve. Some decks even encourage it, especially decks that want, insects, plants, or reptiles in the grave. And it's just a double, it searches 2 cards and then you banish 1. So very great card overall. Definitely want to maximize it for consistency in any deck you decide to place Ragnaraika in. Then we follow that up with 1 copy of Ragnaraika Samurai Beetle and 1 copy of Ragnaraika Armored Lizard. Both of these cards are pretty much extenders of sorts. They each have their own summoning condition. Ragnaraika Samurai Beetle can be special summoned from your hand by placing 1 of your banished insects, plants, or reptiles back in the bottom of your main deck. So that's very cool. And then in the case of Armored Lizard, he can special summon himself from the hand by banishing an insect, plant, or reptile from your grave. Samurai Beetle has a very interesting effect where if he's sent to the graveyard as link material for a Ragnaraika link monster, you can target a level 4 or lower insect, plant, or reptile monster in your grave, except himself, and then special summon it back in defense position. So really crazy card here to help assist with your link climbing plays. And then Armored Lizard, interesting effect. It's more useful going second in my opinion, but basically what he can do is he can discard an insect, plant, or reptile monster, then target a face-up monster the opponent controls, except an insect, plant, or reptile, And then if it resolves, you return it to the hand. So it's like a bounce. It'd be much better if it was a quick effect, but it's not, unfortunately. But I think one ofs is the perfect ratio for not only Samurai Beetle, but also Armored Lizard. Since this deck has so much recurability with this main engine, really the only monster you want to maximize on in the main deck is the Evil Seed, which is their starter. So 1-in-1 for this particular ratio is perfectly fine in my opinion. And now we get to the bread and butter, which is basically the playset of Resonance Insect, and pretty much the sole reason why you'd be playing a Ragnaraika engine in any bug deck, because most bug decks tend to play this card, and this card is absolutely broken. For those of you who don't know what this is, it's a level 4 Earth Insect, and it has 2 effects, neither of which are once per turns. The first effect states that if it's sent from the field to grave, you get to add a level 5 or higher insect monster from deck to hand. Then, if this card is banished, you can actually send an insect-type monster from your deck to the graveyard. So it's a Rhoda for high-level insects, and then a Foolish Burial for any insect upon being banished. Very insane card, and the Ragnaraika engine just allows us to abuse this card so freely. So you definitely want to max out on that for consistency. It's also somewhat of a starter of sorts. Like, it doesn't actually give you any value on the field, but once you start comboing off with this card, it pluses you really, really well. So then we follow that up with 2 copies of Battle Wasp Sting the Poison. Upon being normal or special summoned, it lets you add a Battle Wasp monster from your deck to your hand, except a copy of himself. And then it also has a quick effect where you contribute 1 other insect monster to then target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects to the end of the turn. So that's a little more situational, obviously, but we mainly play this card as a pseudo starter for the deck in tandem with Resonance, which is very nice. Then we follow that up with double copies of Beetrooper Scout Buggy, again another starter of sorts for the deck. Again, it does lock you into insects while you're on the field, but that is really not that big of a deal for this deck. And when Scout Buggy's normal or special summoned, he can special summon another Beetrooper Scout Buggy from the hand, deck, or the graveyard, which is really, really cool. Then we follow that up with 2 copies of Beetrooper Scale Bomber, again another extender for the deck. The whole point of this deck is to just link spam. So obviously we're going to be playing tons of cards that allow us to get bodies on the field for free. Scale Bomber reads that when an insect monster is normal or special summoned, we can special summon this card from the hand. And then also, similar to Sting the Poison, it does have a quick effect where when a monster the opponent controls activates its effect, we contribute an insect monster to destroy that monster, which is very cool. So these are kind of like our starter slash extenders for the theme. Then obviously we do play 2 copies of Battle Wasp Pin the Bullseye. This is our search target for Sting the Poison. Pin the Bullseye is a really fun card. It basically just states if we control an insect monster, we can special it from our hand. And then it also can do 200 points of damage to our opponent during the main phase, since we control for each Pin the Bullseye we control. Very fun little card, but again, mainly just playing it as an extender. The whole point of this deck is to just get 2 bodies on the field as easily as possible so we can continue or begin our link climbing with our Ragnaraika links. Then we do play 1 copy of Guard Mantis, followed by 1 Praying Mantis. These are just very cool cards, Guard Mantis being a great extender at the cost of paying 1,000 life points. Praying Mantis being a good target to dump to the graveyard with Resonance Insect's effect, allowing him to, we can banish it from grave and then special summon a Baby Mantis token to our side of the field. Again, just giving us more bodies to be able to link climb with is always very strong. So we play 1/ofs of those. We also play 1 copy of Assault Roller. Again, just another extender. Banishing an insect from our graveyard to special itself is very, very cool. And then we round that out with 1 copy of Gokapole. Again, another 1-of combo enabler for the deck. If you sent to grave, allowing us to search for a level 4 insect monster from deck to hand is pretty invaluable, especially when we can grab cards that are like extenders, like Assault Roller and or Guard Mantis is very good. So just 1 Gokapole is all you need. Now we start looking into some of the boss monsters that we play in the main deck. We do play a copy of Scary Moth, really easily abusable in this particular deck. There are tons of really crazy combos and whatnot that I'd be happy to show you guys. Like the video and comment down below if you guys do want to see combos and test hands for this deck. I would absolutely enjoy bringing that to you guys if that's something you do want to see. But Scary Moth is kind of like a floodgate monster. Basically, while it's on the field, it kind of acts like a El Shaddai window. It just each player can only special summon a monster once each per turn. So just puts them under like a soft floodgate-like effect. But with some of the new Ragnaraika support we have, it's very easy to get this card on the board as well as protected as well while it's on the field. So very cool there. Then we also play 1 copy of Beetrooper Sting Lancer, another pseudo hand trap of sorts, but also very good. It's a searcher for the Beetrooper spells and traps, which are very powerful in my opinion. Then we also play 1 copy of the Humongous Hive Hegemon, Zek Stagger. It's another extender that's searchable through Resonance Insect. Basically, if we special summon an insect monster, we can special this card from our hands, which is obviously very strong. Then we do play one copy of Doomdozer, again, all searchable off of the Resonance Insect. We follow that up with one copy of Heavy Beetrooper Mighty Neptune, a way to kind of recycle our banished resources while also putting another big body on the field. So very cool there. All these are just fine as one-ofs in my opinion. And then the final main deck boss, those of you who are fans of Simo's, what is the word I'm looking for? The Master Duel Masochist series, should be familiar with this card. This is Beargrim, a Shelled Emperor of the Forest Crown, a very powerful insect boss monster. Cannot be normal summon set, must be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by banishing 3 insect and or plant monsters from our hand and or grave. He can pretty much nuke the entire field. He's 3,400 attack, and he also makes it so that our opponent cannot respond to the activation of our spell and trap cards, which is really, really cool. So just a one of here. Very cool boss monster in the main deck for the theme. And then now we move on to the hand traps, of which we play 3 copies of Retaliating Sea. Very strong this upcoming format in my opinion. Just having kind of like a pseudo dimension shifter like effect. Whenever a spell card or spell effect is activated that would special summon a monster, we can special Retaliating Sea from our hand. And then while it's on the field being summoned by that effect, any card sent to the grave is banished instead. Also, when it's sent to the grave himself, he lets us add an Earth Insect from deck to hand with 1,500 or less attack, which basically searches some pretty powerful cards for us, like Resonance Insect, for example. And then we also round out the monster lineup by playing a playset of Ash Blossom. So these are our 2 hand traps of choice in the main deck. 2 very solid staples, in my opinion, especially with this upcoming format. But that rounds out the monster lineup. Now we're going to be diving into the spells, of which we do play a playset of the brand new Ragnaraika Bloom. It is a continuous spell, very cool. I love the artwork on this card, by the way. These cards just look absolutely incredible, in my opinion. Let me see if I can get a, there you go, more in focus there. But this card is really, really awesome. Basically, it's insects, plants, and reptile monsters on the field gain 300 attack and defense, and then all other monsters on the field lose 300 attack and defense. So it pretty much grants like a 600 attack and defense difference between my monsters and the opponents, which is very noticeable. In addition to that, during our main phase, we can activate one of the following effects. We can either add a Ragnaraika monster from deck to hand and then discard a card, or we can special summon one of our Ragnaraika monsters that is in our hand, graveyard, or that is banished in defense position. So definitely want to max on this card for consistency reasons. It's pretty much a searcher for the deck. Also gives us that recursion that we need as well. So very cool there. So definitely want to play a 3 of this card. I don't foresee any deck wanting to play less. You could probably argue that you could get away with 2, but again, I wanted to go for maximum consistency with this deck, so I chose to max it out. Up next is one copy of Beetrooper Formation, the Beetrooper field spell, allowing us to target a Beetrooper monster in grave and special summon it. Also, if a insect monster we control is destroyed by battle or card effect, we get to special summon a Beetrooper token to our side of the field. So very interesting field spell, pretty much acting like a monster reborn of sorts, and then also giving us board presence whenever our opponent tries to break our field. We can constantly replace our bodies with tokens, which we can still use to link climb with on the subsequent turn. Then we do play one copy of Beetrooper Landing, pretty much the fusion spell for the Beetroopers, allowing us to use material from our hand or field to make any insect fusion, which is pretty cool. Then we play one copy of Giant Ball Game. Again, another staple from the Master Duel Masochist series that Simo is running on YouTube. Shout outs to him. A continuous spell states that during the main phase, if this card is activated this turn, we can special summon a level 6 or lower insect monster from our graveyard. So pretty much a monster reborn-like effect on activation. And then it does have another effect, but it seldom comes up. Pretty much we can reveal an insect in our hand, then target a face-up monster the opponent controls, and an insect monster we control with less attack than the revealed monster. Switch control of those monsters, and then if we do, the monster that I took control of becomes an insect. Again, very situational effect. You don't really use this card for that. Mainly all you use this for is the activation condition where we can revive a level 6 or lower insect. So that rounds out our, I would say, archetypal spells and traps. Now moving on to some of the more generic spells, of which we just play 2 of. We just have one instant fusion, and then one copy of Called by the Grave to be able to slow our opponent's hand traps down and whatnot. Also, pretty good card to have in a lot of different matchups, especially this format. So that rounds out the spells. Again, this is a 42 card list. If you've been counting, that's only been 40 cards. The last two cards we main deck are actually traps. We have one copy of the brand new Ragnaraika Hunting Dance, followed by one copy of Beetrooper Flying Sting, which is a very powerful monster negate for the deck. Let's talk about Hunting Dance, since this card is obviously brand new from the most recent set. We can target cards our opponent controls up to the number of different monster types among the link monsters we control that are insect, plant, or reptile, and destroy them. So if we control a bunch of like insect, plant, and reptile links, we can target cards the opponent controls up to the number and then destroy them. So very cool there. And then in addition to that, if a face-up insect, plant, or reptile monster we control is destroyed by battle or card effect, while this card's in our grave except the turn it was sent there, we can banish this card from our grave to then target a monster the opponent controls and destroy it. So overall, a very cool trap card to play as a 1-of in the deck. It is searchable through one of the Ragnaraika links, and then obviously Flying Sting being a great card to search off of something like Sting the Poison. So that rounds out the 42 card, Ragnaraika Beetrooper main deck. Now we're going to be diving into the extra deck, of which we round things off or start off with one copy of Beetrooper Cruel Saturnus. This is pretty much a card we're summoning off of our instant fusion. Upon being special summoned, we can add a Beetrooper card from the deck to our hand, and then if an insect monster is banished face up, we can target a banished Beetrooper monster and special summon it. So again, just a way to help us extend, put more bodies on field that we can link climb with is very good. We also play one copy of Ultimate Great Insect, another really cool insect boss monster for the theme. It's actually a retrain of Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth for all of you Weevil fans out there. Really powerful fusion monster, cannot be destroyed by battle. In addition to that, once per turn during the battle phase, if a face-up card is in the field zone, we can destroy all monsters the opponent controls. So very helpful there, especially against matchups like the Tenpai matchup, for example. Once they leave the main and go to battle phase, they're a little more vulnerable. So if they control their Sangan summoning a field spell, we can just nuke the board. So very cool there. And then we also play one copy of Ultra Beetrooper Absolute Hercules. This card doesn't get to see the light of day much, but now that the bugs have more options to be able to climb into and put bodies on board, we're actually more likely to make this now than we ever were before, just because of the amount of actual spam we have to be able to put bodies on field to use as material to make something like this. This card is just a really big, unaffected insect, just an absolute house to deal with. 4,000 attack and defense, really fun when this card hits the board, just because most decks really don't have a good way to deal with it. Then we move on. We do play one copy of Battle Wasp, Halberd the Charge. My personal opinion, it's the best Battle Wasp synchro the archetype has. We play this because we do play 2 Sting the Poison, who is a tuner, so we do have the opportunity to make this in most scenarios. But again, it is a bit of a flex spot. I just put it in because I think the card has a cool effect. Basically, once per battle during damage calc, when this card attacks an opponent's monster with equal or higher attack, quick effect, you can have the attack of that opponent's monster during damage calc. So this allows the deck to beat over certain threats that it might not otherwise have answers for. So that's why we play this as a 1-of, but I would say that it is a bit of a flex spot. You don't need to run this if you do not want to. Then we do play the one copy of the number 3 Cicada King. Pretty much a staple in any insect deck at this point. Pretty much an awesome monster negate. Also revives insects from the graveyard while also increasing either its own defense or whatever insect on field that we choose. It's a very fun card here. Then we round that off with the rest of the extra deck, which is all link-based. We play 2 copies of Insector Piccofelina and 2 copies of Beetrooper Armorhorn, 2 very important link monsters for this extra deck. They're both generic, just requiring 2 insect monsters each. Piccofelina is very good, allowing us to equip an insect from our deck to another insect we control, and allowing us to recycle our resources by shuffling insects back to the deck and allowing us free draws. And then Armorhorn not only granting us an additional normal summon, but also being able to banish 3 insects to revive itself from grave is cool, again helping us link climb even further. So we play 2 of those particular cards because we do go into them quite frequently. Then we play 1 copy of the brand new Ragnaraika Skeletal Soldier. This is a brand new Link 2 for the Ragnaraika theme, just requiring 2 monsters, including an insect, plant, or reptile. Think of this card kind of like Sprite Elf, but slightly worse. Basically, what we can do is we can target a Ragnaraika monster in our grave and special summon it in defense position. So this just allows us to revive one of our Ragnaraika monsters that's in the graveyard. Again, helping us link climb into bigger and better threats. Now, all the Ragnaraika links specifically have the same graveyard effect, where they can target an insect, plant, or reptile on the field place it on the bottom of the deck, and then they can special summon themselves out of the graveyard. Note that you are able to put extra deck monsters on the bottom of the deck. You know, look at a precedence with Salamangreat for that, but I did look into rulings for that because I was curious, but it is in fact possible to return an extra deck monster back to the extra deck to use the revival effects of the Ragnaraika Link's graveyard effects, which is pretty cool. So one Skeletal Soldier is more than enough. Then for our Link 3s, we play one Seraphim Papillion, followed by one Ragnaraika Mantis Monk, another brand new Link for the theme. Mantis Monk is really, really powerful, allowing us to banish 2 insect, plants, or reptiles from grave to add a Ragnaraika trap from deck to hand. And then again, it does have the same graveyard effect as the Link 2. And the Papillion's really nice, pretty much acting like a pseudo monster reborn for the deck as well, just allowing us to keep spamming the field with free bodies is always good. Then we have a brand new copy of Ragnaraika Chain Coils as our Link 4, followed by one copy of Giant Beetrooper Invincible Atlas. The Chain Coils is really cool. It's actually a reptile. Again, same graveyard revival effect that the Link 3 and the Link 2 Ragnaraika monsters have. But while it's on the field, if the opponent activates a monster effect, you can activate this effect. Neither player can activate the effects of monsters in the hand for the rest of the turn. So very interesting effect, can definitely turn off certain hand traps. But there are also a lot of decks that just fold to this card. Very interesting effect in my opinion, but very powerful card as well. And then obviously Invincible Atlas is just a house. Probably one of the best Beetrooper extra deck monsters. You know, it contribute other insects to E-Telly Beetroopers out of the deck. Also protects itself while it's on the field. Very cool card overall. And then again, to round out the final card in the extra deck is the brand new Ragnaraika Stag Sovereign. Link 5 insect monster. If a monster is special summoned from your opponent's deck and or extra deck, we get to destroy 2 monsters on the field. So that's obviously very, very powerful. And then it has the same graveyard revival effect as the Link 2, 3, and 4 Ragnaraika Links have. So really cool. It's nice to finally have some better things to Link climb into. Because that was the biggest issue I had with most insect decks, is that the insect extra deck pool is very sparse. And, you know, it's just nice to have finally more things that we can make that, you know, are able to impact the board much better than what we had access to previously. So that rounds out the extra deck. Now before we end the video, let's go through the side deck briefly. Again, side deck is up to personal preference. I'm choosing to play a playset of Kamungus, the Sticky String Kaiju. Very great for going second. Never bad to have a Kaiju in the extra deck. You never know what you might come across. Then we play 2 more copies of the Sting Lancer. You know, being able to play this as a pseudo hand trap, allowing us to target an insect monster in our grave and a monster in the opponent's grave, shuffling them both back to special itself. Kind of like a bestial of sorts. Is really cool. So again, against matchups that are graveyard focused, we can side into 2 more additional Sting Lancers and actually play 3 in our main deck. Then just for the back row hate, we do have 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, followed by the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster in the side. Again, Labyrinth is definitely still a deck that's running around rampant, so you want to make sure you have answers. Then for going second, one of the only gripes I have with this deck is it doesn't do a great job at breaking boards, and that's the only thing that the Ragnaraika archetype didn't solve when it came to Beetroopers, is when you go second, you might have a little bit of a hard time trying to actually crack the field, because the only like mass removal you have is through Bear Grim or through the Perfectly Ultimate Insect in the extra deck. So we're opting to play evenly matched in the side deck. Even better now than it was before, because, you know, the ban list did ban cards like Baron and Savage, so now there's less monsters in the game that are able to stop these types of cards, you know, these equalizers. So I think board breakers have a better chance now than they ever had in the past. And then to round out the final cards on the side, we played 2 more copies of the Ragnaraika Hunting Dance. Again, for those games where we opt to go first, we were able to side into more copies of this because this card is really strong, actually. And since the deck link climbs so well, you know, you're able to get maximum value out of this card. And then for the last side deck choice, we sideboard 1 copy of Prey of the Jiraigumo. Jiraigumo is just such an iconic insect monster, and this trap card is pretty much a retrain for it. This trap does belong to the Gate Guardian archetype, but this trap is still utilized generically as an insect trap monster. It can special summon itself as a normal monster. It's an insect earth level 5 with 2100 attack and 100 defense to our main monster zone in the same column. But then we get to destroy a monster the opponent controls in this card's column. So like you can set this And then depending on where you set it, if the opponent plays into that column, you can special summon this as a trap monster, get a free body on the field while also outing that threat as well. So very cool card to play in the side for those games where we opt to go first. But that's going to wrap up my take on Ragnaraika Beetrooper for the post Legacy of Destruction format. This is, in end of April, May format basically. But let me know down in the comments below if you guys want to see combos and test hands for this deck. I have absolutely no problem bringing that to you guys. Like I said, I'm back. I came back from a vacation and I'm definitely ready to bring you guys some spicy deck profiles. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. But with that being said, this is Nick hitting that end phase. Peace.